Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Uriah, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashim Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprisers, the uproars out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they can do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, right? Sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, right? Being shamefaced, loving, submissive, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, and fasting, doing everything they can do to help the Most High in the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes, scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, magnifying the Most High and his beloved Son, Yahushua. Right? This is going to be a breakdown on current events, slash the destruction of Babylon. And I wanted to dive into this through the Spirit. Right? I'm going to share my screen. Right? Brothers, let me know if you can see the screen. Give me a con if you can see the screen. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah. And you have to dive into the spirit of the last days, man. You have to be fervent in the coming of the Lord, man. You can't just think this thing is, 3,000 years away. You have to want this thing, man. Our forefathers, they hasten and they looking forward to the day of the Lord, right? This is the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse number 5. Prepare the table, watch in the watchtower, man. So you have to prepare. Prepare how? By knowing the links, going into the precepts, going into the parables, knowing what's going on in the earth, man. Current events, World War III news. Prepare the table. Watch in the watchtower. Eat, drink, arise, ye princes, and anoint thy shields. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, go set a watchman, and let him declare what he seeth. So every ancient empire, they have a what? They have a watchman. A watchman sits upon a high tower day and night. They have shifts, they have sets where they will be in a watch. And they will watch from this time to that time. And they declare what they seeth. They blow the shofar, they blow the trumpet, they sound the alarm, and they let the whole entire city know death is on the rise. Destruction is on the rise. That a war is on the rise. A war is on the horizon. It said and declare what he seeth. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a chariot of asses, and a chariot of camels. And he hearkened diligently, right, with much head. And he cried. So when brothers see these things, this is spiritual. Now, who's the modern day watchman? The servant of the Most High God, the prophet. You're commanded to cry. Brother, if you know what's going on and you didn't warn your family, you didn't try to do a flyer mission. You didn't try to warn anybody, man. You're just sitting around, heaping up all this wisdom to yourself. You're going to be guilty, right, of the blood of all of the innocent, man. All of them that didn't know. See, the city on a deeper level is Israel, man. We're a city. We're a nation undesired. You understand? The kingdom of heaven is within you. A Jerusalem is the city. He cried, a lion, my Lord, I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am set in my wards whole nights. So this is the spirit of a man, no matter what's going on, man, a death in the family, brothers spiritually not doing well. He's battling temptations, plagues of the mind. He's getting overtaken with all type of adversity. He lost his job. No matter the situation, a true watchman is going to continue in their watch, because you're not watching for vanity, women, lust and vanity and folly, man. You're watching for what? For protection. You're watching for the kingdom of heaven, man. This thing gets deep. Let me get this quick precept and we're going to dive into it. Let's go to the mighty book of Psalms. Right? Psalms chapter 130. This truth is bigger than you. And once you really realize that this truth isn't about you, how you feel, what you want, your desires, right? The things, how you wanted to delegate your family, and you really make yourself a servant and or a handmaid for the Lord, you're going to truly know, right, the depths of the beginning of the knowledge of Yahushua, man. That's exactly what he came to do. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 130. And I'm going to start. I mean, this whole thing is fire. On verse 5. I wait for the Lord. My soul doeth wait. Now, that's not just saying you're waiting around with a watch, right? When you wait for the Lord, you do what? You endure. You go through things. You don't fall. You continue to watch, even though nothing is going on, man. See, a carnal man to fall back away. This is getting boring. You know what has happened? A lot of people come into the truth off the anticipation of World War III, the destruction and death. But after they see this thing kind of sizzle down, foreign policies have been signed, treaties, right? And all of these things seem to be not going as they thought. They fall back away, man. That's 2 Peter 3. It says, I wait for the Lord, my soul doeth wait, and in his word do I hope. My soul waiteth for the Lord, more than they that watch for the morning. See, they that watch for the morning is on a watch. They're watching the sun come up. You know how long that takes, man? How long it takes to watch a tree grow, how long it takes to see grass grow, how long it takes to see the constellation shift as you're looking up at the stars, see the moon change. It said, my soul waits for a man, right? Waits more than a man that watches for the morning, man. I say more than they that watch for the morning. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. It's Jeremiah chapter 51, and I'm starting at verse, right, number 1. It says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise against Babylon, against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind. See, the destroying wind is what? It's World War III. It's destruction. Now, let me get a quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Revelation. Let's go to Revelation chapter 7 and verse number 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, meaning complete totality around the world, holding the 4 winds of the earth. It's not literal, man. It's not literally talking about the 4 actual winds, right? There's no such thing. Right, let me get this real quick. The Lord said in the book of Ecclesiastes, I'm going to get this quick precept, the first chapter. This is Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 1, verse 6. The wind goeth toward the south and turneth about unto the north, right? So you have the wind that goeth toward the south, right? Out of the north. So when, yeah, in agriculture, you can tell, okay, the wind's blowing this way. So it's coming out of the north. You can see the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. You can be able to tell your directions as you move. Understand when that lightning strikes, that's out of the east. When wind blows in a circle, you know how the elements move. So we know through the spirit and through agriculture that it's not literal, man. This destroying wind that the Lord's going to send is what? Like a tornado. And it's coming from all directions, all nations, all bombs, all missiles, man, all nukes, a destroying wind, right? It says, and will send unto Babylon fanners, that they should fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about, against him that bendeth the archer, bendeth his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up and is burgeoning, and spareth ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. So this is going into the destruction of Babylon, right by the ancient Persians and Medes, man, in 539 BC. And when you actually go into that history, I'm going to pull up a little bit of it, right? It's the fall of Babylon, ancient Babylon. The fall of Babylon occurred in 539 BC when a Persian empire conquered the Neo-Babylonian Empire, right? The success of the Persian campaign led by Cyrus the Great, Cyrus II, brought to the end the reign of the last nativity dynasty of the Mesopotamians and gave the Persians control over the rest of the Fertile Crescent, right? Meaning all of the Middle East. That's the Fertile Crescent, right? So when they actually did this, they did it under Nabonidus, right? The final Babylonian king and the son of the Assyrian priest, right? Says has ascended the throne by overthrowing predecessor, right? Now I want to dive into that. This was done during the Battle of Opis that you read about in the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. The 13th chapter, 19 all down, is going into, the wilderness, the destruction. It's going into the Battle of Opis, which is history. It says the Battle of Opis was the last major military engagement between the Achaemenid Empire and the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which took place in September 539 BC during the Persian invasion of Mesopotamia. At the time, Babylonian, right, was the last major power in Western Asia that was not under the Persian control. The battle was fought in or near the strategic riverside of Apis, the city of Apis, right? Basically like your modern day Baghdad, right? Located north of the capital of Babylon, right? Which is Iraq. In modern day Iraq, the result, right, in the decisive victory of the Persians, right, shortly afterward, the Babylonian city, Sippar, surrendered to Persian forces. So during the Battle of Apis, you have the physical ancient history, but then you have prophecy. And we're going to see as you read the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, that everything in Jeremiah 51 didn't actually come to pass or wasn't actually prevalent mixing with history. We know that when we jump around Jeremiah 51, right? And we're going to keep reading and uncover that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of Chaldees, right? And they that are thrust, right, in their streets. For Israel hath been forsaken, and Judah his God. And the Lord of hosts thought their land was filled with sign, where sin against the Holy One of Israel, man. Right? It says, for Israel have not been forsaken. And although brothers go through hell, man, and destruction and wars on the rise, the Most High didn't forget you, man. You're still in the eyes of the Most High, the protection of the Most High, the refuge of the Most High. Flee out of the midst of Babylon. It's not talking about get you a passport, get you some tickets. You start looking around and see, what's in Antarctica, what's going on in damn South America. How can I, get the hell up out of America? When it says flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul, right? What is that talking about, man? When you flee out of the midst of Babylon, you come out of her religion, her sorcery. You come out of the midst of the things that she's allured you to, that she's pulled you to through her seduction, man, through her wine, which has everyone in the world drunk. There's nobody in the world that's not drunk off of Babylon. Everybody's shaking hands. English is the number one desired English to speak, right? Language to speak, rather. And they force you to drink. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17, and verse, I'm going to start at 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, meaning they can't resist America's trade, America's religion, America's policies, right? They can't resist the ways of America. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So what is America's chief sin? They force you to drink, man. According to the law and according to Sirach, that's evil, man. You can't force upon a man at the wine. Why? Because, that man is liable to fall, trip, hurt himself, liable to murmur, wicked and diverse things, liable to go off, right? You can uncover their nakedness, right? You can pervert them. There are a plethora of things you can't force upon a man, right, on the wine. And that's what America does. They force you, man, and essentially lay down with you, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 31, right? And I'm going to start at verse 29. But wine drunken in excess maketh bitterness of the mind. That's exactly what all these nations are. They're bitter in their mind. Jake walking up and down, they're bitter. They love America, man. You tell them to go back to the Middle East and they'll go back to Israel. I don't want to go there, man. Ain't nothing but dirt, man. I don't see no grass. Talking about in the white man's land, they want to stay right on their block, man. Right up eat time, man. Downtown. Right on the west side, right on the east side. They have bitterness of mind with brawling and quarreling, man. That's nothing but wine brings forth is brawling and quarreling. That's exactly what all of these nations are going to come together to do spiritually. Drunkenness increaseth the rage of a fool till he offend, right, and diminish strength and maketh wounds. See that? So that's what essentially, wine does. It destroys man. And the Lord said in the book, let me get this quick precept, in the book of Proverbs, right? Chapter 22, right? Get this quick precept. All right, I'm gonna come back to this precept. Right, let me go back to it. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquities. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Right. So during the days of vengeance on the earth, you got to come up out of Babylon. This is the warning. Right. If you're reading this through the spirit, this is the prophet and or the Most High sending forth an ambassador to the land to warn the inhabitants thereof to come out of the midst of Babylon, because what? Destruction is going to happen. Destruction is on the way. Now, when you go to, let me get this real fast. Right now, the Persians, right, read the river Euphrates to get into the city. Check this out. Yes, that part of the story of Cyrus the Great conquers, right, conquest in Babylon in 539 BCE. The Persian army led by Cyrus, right, diverted their Euphrates River, which flowed through the city. So the Euphrates River, it flowed right through the city, right, in Mesopotamia, going all the way in Iraq during that region. And I wanted to look at that and touch on that. Right, you have the Euphrates River. And this is the passage they took. Why does this matter? Because it's spiritual. The Lord's going to dry up the Euphrates River a second time. Right now, on a deeper level, it's going to be all dried up for the armies of the east and all of the kings of the east to cross over to destroy right in the valley of Jehoshaphat, man, which is Yahweh Shaphat. But in ancient Babylon, let me go back to that. It says the Persian army led by Cyrus, right, diverted the Euphrates River, which flowed through the city into a large reservoir, allowing them to march into the city right along the dry river bed. See how the ancient history is linking up with the prophetic history and prophecy, man? Because the Lord's going to dry up the river again, but it's going to be on a major level, and it's going to destroy, and he's going to smite all of the seas, man, like you read about in the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter. But let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Revelation. I'm going to get this quick precept. Revelation chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse number 14. It says, say to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And it's a spirit over that whole region, man. It's principalities, it's demons and angels bound up, ready for death and destruction. It says, and the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, in a day, in a month, in a year, for to slay the third part of men. So these angels are literally created to be over this principality, to stir it up, to wait for the exact moment, time, month, year, and day to destroy the third part of man, man. That's how the Lord get down with ancient prophecy, man. Let's get the book of Revelation chapter 16. It's the book of Revelation chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse, right, this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 16, right? It says, and he gathered them together in a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. So the Lord's going to gather all of these nations and heap them up toward the east to have the great battle of Armageddon in the last days. So as Cyrus, you understand, marched through, this is one of the pathways he took, right, in ancient Babylon to discover the nakedness of the Babylonians and to destroy them. This allowed them to take the city by surprise. As the Babylonians were partying at the time, they have left the city gates unguarded, man. See, and that's spiritual, because the Lord's coming like a thief in the night. These bombs are coming like a thief in the night. When all hell actually starts to actually break loose, you're not going to get a warning, man. It's not going to come to your iPhone, okay, evasion, and it's going to start blinking. This is not a movie, man. You don't have a red light that's in your house and or apartment building, right? That's going to flash and let you know what's going on. These things are going to catch you like a thief in the night. It says Cyrus' strategy. Cyrus planned involving diverting, right, the Euphrates River upstream into a reservoir of depression, which is known, right, in future Babylon, right? This effective reduced the water levels in the riverbed. And if you know anything about sea level and water levels, right, talking about the Euphrates River, you have two major water flows, right? You have that high, where it goes above the land, and then you have when it goes very low, right? Let me see if I can pull that up real fast. Right? It says, let me see if I can pull this up. I will have to really dive into it. Right? But when you actually go into it, it's too let me see if I can pull this up saying something else. All right, this is what I want. All praise to the Most High. The Euphrates River typically experiences two distinctive sea levels, right? Sea waters of level. The peak flowing in spring, March, and May, and the low flow in summer, June, and August, due to snow melt, right, and seasonal rainfall, right? So, I mean, actually, when you go into it, you have two peaks of water levels. And any ancient man of war, they would kind of know that, or man of the sea that sails. If I wait, too long and the water levels rise up, I'll flow into land and then I'll be off my course. But as the waters level go back down, I'll be able to stay on the canoe and the path of the Euphrates River. And these men, yeah, they're heathens and, they're going to be destroyed. But nevertheless, these men have an ancient mind of war. And anything of war, you delegate agricultural, land, tactics of hiding, try to figure out strategically, like when men play chess, when they actually go together and this king against that king, you have to know the land, the people, and the warriors and the soldiers and the men that you're going against. It says this: the Euphrates River, right, is a major waterway in Southwest Asia, right? Originates in the mountains of Turkey and flows through Syria and Iraq before emptying into the Persian Gulf. Check that out. So it goes right into the Persian Gulf. And Cyrus knew that, man. You had men of the sea, men of agriculture. You had these men over these regions that knew those things, man. Right? Let me go back to it. This is the book of Jeremiah, right? Chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken, and the nations have drunken her wine, and the nations are mad, man. All these nations are mad. Everyone's lying in the bed together, aligning together with all of their foreign policies. And I wanted to dive into that too. Let me get this real fast. Right, I had a couple of World War III, you know, things pulled up through the spirit. Let me get this real fast. Now, the hot topic and what's really going on in the world is these taxes, these taxes, man. It says a tariff is a tax levied by a government or imported or, in some cases, exported goods. It is a charge added to the cost of goods when they cross international borders, right? So you actually have a council dedicated for world trade, where you have world war alliances, right? You have Sisto, right? You have a lot of these, Arabian Peninsula. You have a lot of these, the Shanghai Corporation. You have these people that come together on a world major level and or for going to war. You have BRICS for trade, right? But you also have a council for international trade, man. Right? I'm going to pull this up, which is called the WTO, World Trade Organization, where different nations they come together and they, figure out trade numbers, shipments, agreements, where, going into this coast, going into that coast with this ship. This is a real big business. This is how America gets their trade, how they're able to come in with gold, silver, brass, cinnamon, right, linen, all type of things and imported from China and these different parts of the world, right? Let me pull this up. It says the summary. The WTO is the principal body government international trade, serving as a form of negotiations and a barber and a monitor of the implementation of trade agreements. The Trump administration harshly criticized the WTO, claiming it failed to curb China's alleged unfair trade practices, man. So, I mean, he's prying into things that were set up. Not that we want America and or these nations to flourish, but these nations have agreements. They have alliances. They have, contracts. They come together in councils. They have all of these things set up, but then you have Trump, which is a demon from old set up, probably one of the ancient Romans, back on the scene to stir up and to break up all of these contracts and agreements to have the nations in peace so that things would start to get in an uproar. It says, among other complaints, the Biden administration shares some of these concerns. As major, right, World Trade Organization negotiations have stalled in recent years, many countries have turned, right, to battler or Slovakia preliminary trade agreements. It says the World Trade Organization is a principal form of settling the rules of international trade. It is two halves, Slovakia 2.5 decades. It helped reduce barriers in trade in both goods and services, created to dispute resolutions, systems that supporters say reduce the threat of trade wars. So you're gonna have wars, man. You know, prices going up, people fighting, breaking into stores. A loaf of bread is going to be sold for $15. A cheeseburger is now going to be sold for $25, $35. A single cheeseburger, fries in itself, just something to get some cold glass of water, something to drink, man. Whatever the case may be, these things are going to spike to a high level, and you're not going to be able, right, to trade and get in the things you used to do. And I was talking to a brother, at work through the spirit, and he was telling me, he was like, man, you like shoes, randomly, you know. And I said, man, they all right through the spirit. I said, I got a couple pair. He said, man, you better get all your shoes you could get now while the trade is in. Because by the time they re-up and try to go, overseas and bring those shoes back in, they're going to spike double the price. And this man is in the world. He has no idea on a deeper level prophecy. But yet he even knows these things, man. See, the world is starting to uncover the ways of the so-called white man. And the Lord said in the book of, let me get this real quick, in second, right, Thessalonians, right? The second Thessalonians, right, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse, right, number 6. And now you know, right, what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. So if you didn't know, and it's looking at this truth as is racist, looking at this truth as brothers just hate one another, and it's just a bunch of camaraderie, and brothers, this is not really going to happen. No, the Lord is showing you by all of these things going on in the earth, these polities coming to pass, right? Trump making all these executive new orders, right? The trades, the tariffs, that the Lord is revealing the wicked on the earth. Who makes it hard for you to be able to feed your children? Who can legally lock you up, man? Who can do these things? For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked be revealed. The wicked being revealed is the Lord uncovering the mask of the so-called white man via his actions and the things he does upon the earth by the hand of his servants, the prophets, who the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy him with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after working of Satan. So who works and manipulates these countries and these foreign policies and these world leaders? Satan, man. He literally governs over them and moves their spirit. That's why these ancient kings, they all move in that same demon, in that same spirit. Right? I want to pull up a little bit more on that. Right? Let me see. Right, China, right, suspends liquefied natural gas purchases from the United States. And this war is going to get more and more heated. This is just the beginning of it, man. It's just what they would call the beginning stages. You push them before a fight, before somebody really swing, man. And through Trump's pride, his arrogancy, his making America great mindset, and his rich like mentality, right? He's going to cause all the poor of the nation. When I say the nation, I mean of all of America to fall, man. Why the elites, they conjure up the things that they have for themselves. Because the elites are really in charge in where things go, where things are moved. And all of the poor is going to have to deal with the decisions that Trump is making. Who is the poor, man? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They're the ones on damn welfare. They're the ones that don't have any money. They're laid at the gates full of swords, man. Like it says in the book of Luke, man, the 16th chapter. Just begging and hoping. The Lord said, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go up, so like it go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and it is lifted up even to the skies. Meaning what? Her blood, the cries, the atrocities, the murders, the unjust dealings, the foreign signed polities coming to pass. These things have reached unto the third heaven, man. How do you know that? Let me get a quick precept. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. See, murder and cries always reach up to the third heaven, and you always have an angel reporting the matter. This is Ezekiel chapter 9 in verse, I'm going to start at 10. And as for me also, mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head. Meaning all the things that they have done, the Lord is going to recompense them twicefold, right? It says this. It says, and behold, the man clothed with linen, which is an angel, which had an inkhorn by his side, reported the matter. What does that mean? He reported the matter. Brothers aren't making it up when we say angels are writing down everything you say, everything you do, the actions and the things you bring forth, man. Look about an ancient Sodom and Gomorrah, man. What did those angels came down to do? To report the matter, to really see the wickedness firsthand and not just from above. To really be soldiers and footmen of Yahweh Shem Yahushua getting on the ground, really, interrogating this thing, man, and figuring out what the hell was going on. It says, reported the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. That's what the angels do. They don't miss a beat or a commandment of the Heavenly Father. They report the matter, and they're reporting all of these cries and these things that are coming, into Babylon. It says, the Lord have brought forth our righteousness, and come and let us declare in Zion the works of the Lord our God. Right? Meaning, come back, repent, for the Lord is going to fight for you, man. He have brought forth righteousness. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. Now, it says kings with an S. Now, it was under Cyrus, right? So-called King Cyrus II, or Cyrus the Great. There wasn't multiple kings. When you actually dive down deeper in this chapter, it says, set up, it's like it set ye up a standard in the land, right? Blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations against her. Call together, right, against her the kingdoms of Iraq. Now, in ancient Babylon in 539, in a contextual level, it was all Cyrus II, Cyrus the Great, and his army of the Persians. There was no many other nations that really formed an allegiance to help fight to take down the Babylonians. So when it says the kingdoms of Iraq, it's talking about Turkey, right? Many, right? Armenia and Ashkenazi, Salakia for the pronunciation, right? Which is parts of Bithynia, which is the latter end of Armenia. Appoint as a caterpillar against her, cause her horsemen to come up as rough caterpillars. How do we know that? Let's find out, right? Right? It says, did the Persians take down Babylon with Turkey, right? Which is Iraq. No, the Persians did not take down Babylon with Turkey, right? Because Turkey was a province under, right, that Persian Empire. The Persians, significant Slakia, specifically Cyrus the Great, conquered the Neo-Babylonian Empire in 539, while Cyrus' empire later expanded into what is now Turkey. That wasn't the key to conquering Babylon. The Persians' primary focus was on Babylonian Empire. So when you actually going into it, right, this will have to be prophetic. This can't be talking about ancient Babylon. That's for all you people that think these things have already came to pass. You know, all the book of Jeremiah 51. Ha! Right, the book of Jeremiah 50. Right, Mark 13. Right, Matthew chapter 24. Right, Luke chapter 24. All of these different things, hey, brother, these things, they have to come to pass, man. Right, Luke chapter 21. It says, a rat many, right, Ashkedons appoint as caterpillars against her. See, caterpillars have what? They have many legs, which is a representation of the army and all of these powers. It says, cause her horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Now, Turkey's in NATO, right? But they're going to eventually branch off to hate Babylon. That's biblical Bible prophecy. Now, many, which is Armenia, has allegiance a little bit to America as well as Russia, you know, as well as China. So they're really like in the middle. They're looking around, just trying to be cool with everybody. You know, when you look at a on a policy type of level, let me pull that up. See, U.S. relations, right, with Armenia, right? And like I said, I'm not going to read this whole thing. The United States is committed to helping Armenia strengthen, right, diplomatic institutions, right? So they have somewhat of a relationship. U.S., right, assistance to Armenia. U.S. government assistance to Armenia supports efforts to strengthen Armenia's ties to Western institutions, right? But it also has an allegiance with Russia, man. Who you think they're going to pick and lean on to in the end of the days? Armenia and Russia are both members of a military alliance. So, I mean, America could be cool with a lot of people. And this is what you call politicking, man. For anybody that's in the streets or been in the streets, you know, a lot of people, they want a lot of power. So they'll be from their neighborhood and their block, but they'll also join with the Crips. Then they'll also be a Muslim, you know? And then they'll also, you know, they want as much damn force and street credibility and strength as humanly possible. That's what a lot of these nations do, man. That's why they're linking up with so many of these, you know, cliques. Armenia and Russia are both members of a military alliance, right? Alliance, the Collective Security Treaty, right? Organization system, along with four other ex-Soviet countries, a relationship that Armenia finds, right, essential to its security. Now I want to get this real fast. Turkey. As a close partner of both Russia and Ukraine, Turkey is actively accepting, right? Attempting to broker a peace, right, solution to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, right? As a hosted of a number of high-profile negotiations between the two countries. Turkey is currently the only NATO member which is not on a Russian unfriendly country list. So it's showing you out of all these nations of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Turkey's the only one not on Russia's radar of the unfriendly country list. And what is Turkey going to eventually do? Branch off from NATO, join with Russia, right? Who is the modern day kings of the Persians? Who's the modern day Persians? Right? The Russians, man. It's showing you that these same countries, right, that really have nothing to do on a contextual level, right, going into history, are really prophetically going to join in the last days, along with other countries that help destroy America, man. It says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, it's like the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. Right, I want to get a little bit more on this. Just then, right, United States offers to ease sanctions on Russia and Ukraine, peace plan, right? Because America is telling so-called Israel, right, to hold off on bombing Iran. And it's really getting turned up, man. I want to get into that, right? Let me read this real fast. It says it may be what Israel and its allies in Congress want. It is in their interest to push the conversation between the Iranians and the US toward the dead end. Because Trump, has pushed the Iranians into a corner where they must meet, or answer his petitions within 2 months. We want to read that. Right? Time a ticking clock. Who is Trump to tell somebody you got 2 months or you got 2 days? That's not how an ancient king really moves, man. See, these ancient kings, right, in the ancient world, they didn't move like that, man. It really didn't move with pride like that. Let me get this quick precept, man. Right? Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of Additions to Esther, chapter 13, in verse, right, number 1. The copy of the letters was this: the great king Artaxerxes, right, Araxes, right, writeth these things unto the princes and the governors that are under him, right, from India unto Ethiopia, and in 170 and 20 provinces. After that, I became Lord over many nations and had dominion over the whole world, not lifted up with presumption of my authority. Right? So he wasn't lifted up of pride and arrogancy. And he said, you know what? I'm ruled over these 127 provinces. I'm going to kick back and I'm going to relax. I'm going to just be a king. But carrying myself always with equity and mildness. That's not how Trump moves, man. It's not how these new spirits of these new kings move. I propose that to settle my subjects continually in a quiet life and making my kingdom peaceable and open for passage to the uttermost coast. Because that was the ancient thing. A lot of nations would have passed through. Like Esau didn't allow us to pass through in the wilderness. Passing through another country's land could really bring about a threat. 300,000 men are passing through. Arm up in case they're trying to invade and take down, or maybe this is an ambush. We say, you know what? I'm making it peaceable so that you have a passageway to pass through and renew peace, which is desired of all men. So, I mean, that's how, the ancient Persians and, different men, were to move and did move. But now, the US is just wicked, man. A ticking clock. Israel believes that it is a narrow window of opportunity to strike Iran's nuclear sites. Why? Because Trump has them on a hold. Because Israel and the US, the Confederates, Trump is giving an order, an executive push to say, hold up, let's see what they're going to do. It says, at a time when Tehran, right, is weakened in military and economically. So let's see that they're weak in their military bases. Now, a military base in ancient wars, what you want to strike. That's the main thing you really want to pull up on and start dumping, right? Just real fast. Because in a city, right, the civilians really don't matter. When people play, games like Black Ops, Call of Duty, whatever games people play, I don't know. That's on the only one I know. They'll even show you stuff like this, right? From the top of these drones. And these drones are sent out. When they send out these drones, they're to spy the land in the area. See, the ancient spies, well, we had spies, man, in the ancient world, man, right? There are many spies. Let me get this quick precept. That spied the land. We spied the land in the book of Numbers, man, right? Diving into it. Let me go to Judges real fast. All right, this is Judges chapter 1 and verse number 24. And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city, and they said unto him, shew us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city. So they're stalking around trying to figure things out, and they seen a man. They see, what, like, hey, show us how to get to the entrance of the city. So you always have spies, man. Spies are in every nation. They're in every isle. They're in every country. And what do? They spy out the land. Yeah, they had ancient spies on foot, but now what are your modern day spies? These drones with these military, surveillance that see the land. What are they chiefly looking for? Military bases. Why military bases? Because they can know what to strike. Because this is the threat. The threat isn't the civilian drinking a beer, man, or the man and his daughter watching a movie at the movie theater, or somebody mowing their grass in Iran. The real threat are these military bases. Once they get breached, destroyed, taken down, you have no more strength to fight. Like if you're gonna fight a man or break something, rather, it would be wise to break his fist or his arm. That's his strength. Anything else, I'm not trying to, break, necessarily just take a tooth out, man. That doesn't want to do much damage. So you want to take these nations down, you really start with the military bases. And Iran, so like Israel, right, knows that. It says almost all the attacks planned that Mr. Trump has asked Israel to shelf would have required the United States to take a central role to assure its success. Meaning they're ready and hasty to attack, but in attacking, United States will have to get involved and defend Israel from retaliation. A military operation could take several weeks, if not months, to conclude with no guaranteed outcome. What does it mean a military operation could take weeks, if not months? Meaning shipping out these men, calling for soldiers, right? Feeding these men, knowing the hours and the different places where these men are going to be. A lot of spies and a lot of military surveillance has to be. You have to really know what you're doing. Right? In war, you don't just send men out. This is not just, okay, you get dropped off, you got a helmet on and an AK, and you just start tracking through the city like you're playing a video game, huh? Because you could step on landmines, enemy attack zones. It says most experienced, it's like experts believe, Tyra will try to expand the talks right past Mr. Trump's 2-month deadline, in part to find common ground for full technical negotiations, but also potentially to prepare its own military, right, for conflict. So they're getting these things ready. If that happens, Israel is likely to tell Mr. Trump that time is running out, man. We got to attack now. Said Michael, right, Mishgasky, a senior, right, Pentagon, right, policy advisor during George W. Bush administration. Right? Let me get this real fast. Now, it says the Trump administration first 100 days. And I had put up all of Trump's executive orders, and I was reading them this morning, going over them, through the spirit, and it's a lot of them, man. It's a lot of things this devil was pushing. But I mean, not to touch on all of them, I want to touch on at least 2 of them real fast. Iran nuclear talks. As the administration grapples with how to stop Iran's nuclear program, it is so far left a trial of mixed messages, conflict signals, right, and blistering threats. Federal housing aid. Now, this is going to hit a lot of you so-called, right, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The White House is considering deep cuts to federal housing programs, man. And that's exactly what helped a lot of you Section 8, low-income families, people that don't really have government assistance, people that need help with what do they call it? A SNAP, right? And checking that card, getting free money for groceries to feed your children, including a sweeping overhaul of aid to low-income families. And then they're taking that away, man, to have more money for the war and to have more money for the rich. And a reconfiguration that could jeopardize millions of Americans' access to a rental assistance fund. You're not going to have the assistance like you do now, man. See, now, Jake, you call, yeah, I need help. Yeah, what do you mean? Right? You got an attitude with the lady, man. Right? You pushing, you going up there, you stopping your paperwork, man. Hurry up and approve my card, man. Right? I should have been approved. right? You sitting up there in section 8. All of these things are really going to come down to an end, which is going to cause what? A civil unrest. All hell was going to break loose, man. And a lot of people were going to start hitting the streets, robbing and stealing and looting. And all hell was going to really bring forth, man. And the Lord said in the book, let me get this quick precept. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and the Lord said, I'm going to start at 1. Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth. The days of thy youth is what, man? On a deeper level. The deeper level. Let's go to Jeremiah. The days of your youth is really when we came out of Egypt, man. This is the book of Jeremiah 2:2. Go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousal. When we really came to the Lord delivered us out of bondage and really brought us to the Holy Land, man. That's when we were ravished in our most and in our strength to follow the Lord, to see his signs and wonders, to be bidden to the marriage, man. That's the youth on a deeper level, man. But on a physical level, brother, anytime you come into this truth, a brother maybe 10, 12, 13, 5, 3, he praising the Lord, he's sticking his hands up, man. Whatever the case may be, as you're reborn again, that's the days of your youth. Remembering the freshness of the precepts, understanding, shaking the hand, you got that zeal, you having dreams. That's the rebirth, you understand, and the reborn of you being reborn. The kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousal, when thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown. Right, went after like a what? Like a child does, man. See, anybody that has a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, even a 5-year-old in some senses, they'll follow you everywhere, man. You go in the kitchen, they go into the kitchen, man. You go to the bathroom, they right at the door, just looking like this. As soon as you open the door, they just looking at you, man. They trying to climb on you all the time. That's the youth and the love of what we were ravished with the Most High. The Lord said, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, right? While the evil days come not. When these things don't come, you have to consider, nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Because when you say you have no pleasure in them, you have nothing else to remember but the good. It says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. Right? Meaning what? All of the strength of the city and everything is brought down. Right? All the intelligence, all of the lights, all of the city, anything that helps this government flourish and gender is going to go down. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Who are the strong men that bow themselves? Right? What is this talking about? Right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Job chapter 21. This is Job chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, their houses are safe from fear, talking about the so-called white man. Neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bull gendereth. A bull does what? It does work, right? A bull, right? An oxen and or an ass, a camel, or any beast, you understand, they hitch them up and they pull them and they gender forth the work, which is an increase to a field, which brings them money. Their bull gendereth, meaning their society, right? Their power plants, right? Their CDL companies, Fortune 500, companies and anything that's building up this land, right? It gendereth, meaning it flourish, and faileth not. Their cow claveth and casteth not her calves. They send their little ones like a flock, and their children dance, meaning they're enjoying this society. But it's going to come a time where the keepers of the house, men that are governing over all of these parts of America, shall tremble when they start to see the stock market crash, man. When they start to understand taxes are putting a lot of people out of business. See, when I was a kid, I seen I think it was Radio Shack, they went out of business. Toys R Us, they went out of business. There's a lot of, all old companies, they went out of business, man. What do you think is going to happen in the days to come? Nobody's going to be thinking about electronics. People are going to be struggling just to pay their bills, man. Just to have clothes, just to be able to travel, to go to work, man. It says, and the grinders cease because there are few, and those that look out the window be darkened. and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Who are the daughters of music? Let's go back to Job. This is Job chapter 21 and verse number 12. They take the timbrel and harp, they rejoice at the sound of the organ. That's the so-called white man. The dancing, right? The shucking and jiving. Right? That's why the Lord said in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 18, uh, Revelation 18 and 21 all the way down. It says, I'm gonna start at 22, and the voice of harpers and the musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. That's really talking about sorcery. That's how you pipe somebody up. See, a lot of music, deals with your soul, what people in the world will call your chakras and your channels and the things that move you. They make you sad, they make you happy, they make you want to dance. They put a lustful spirit on you, man. Let a song come on and that right beat, that right tone, and the musician is singing it the right way, man. It'll make you feel erotic. It'll make you hate. It'll make you want to rage. Like that's the spirit of Babylon, man, and all of their sorceries. It says, in the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpets shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. Meaning what the Lord's taking down the business, right? All of the companies, everything that will make this place flourish. The Lord said in ancient Egypt, I'm going to get this real fast. Now, when the Lord destroyed Pharaoh and the Egyptians, how did he destroy him? What means did he use? Let's go to Exodus. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 8, and I'm going to get, let me see the last part of it. I'm going to start at verse 29. And Moses said, behold, I go out from thee, and I will entreat the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore, and letting the people go to sacrifice right to the Lord. So, I mean, you had the flies, you had the blood, right? You had the frogs, you had the lice, you had the flies, and then you have what? The bulls, right? And a fire hanger with meal. Now, when the Lord took the cattle out of Egypt and the Lord destroyed them by means, what did that actually do on a deeper level, man? It took forth their strength from them, right? That cattle, right? That ate the grass, right? I want to get this real fast in the book of Exodus chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 24, right? It says, there was hail and fire mingled, right, with hail, very grievous, such as there was not like in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field and braked every tree in the field. What is this? Their vegetation, their life. It's how they feed their animals, their beasts. It's how the beasts are able to move and break down the ground to bring forth crops. That's how life and fruit and vegetables can yield and bring this thing forth. The Lord is smiting them and destroying them. These same plagues is the same plagues that's going to come a second time spiritually, man. A second Esdras, the 15th chapter. Only in the land of Goshen. See, the land of Goshen, there was light. It's where the children of Israel dwelled. That's spiritual because that's the refuge, the hiding place of the Most High God in the last days. Where the children of Israel were, as there no hail. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron and said unto them, I have sinned this time. The Lord is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. What are these elites going to eventually come to the realization of, man? That when the Lord actually hinders and breaks down their economy and their strength and their pride, that they're going to know that they're mortal man, man. Did not the Lord do that to Nebuchadnezzar II when he was full with his pride, his arrogancy, and the Lord chopped him down like a tree? The Lord chops down all pride of man. See, pride is the beginning of you separating from the Most High, man. Pride in your marriage, pride in a friendship, pride not apologizing. but how much more the deeper pride of the so-called white man? He is lifted up with pride. Isn't he the eagle that stands on high, man? It says, I and my people are wicked. Meaning every knee is going to bow and essentially come to the realization and understanding of the King of Kings. Right? I want to get maybe one more in this. I had a lot I wanted to go into through the spirit, but I want to go back to the book of Jeremiah. I'm going to get a couple more on that before I close out. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51. And I'm going to start at verse 13. Oh, that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, and thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. How is it going to come? Just like ancient Tyre and Zidon. They're going to be shut up, just like America is going to be shut up. Now, ancient Tyre and Zidon, they dealt heavily with trades and imports with all nations. Right, let me get a quick precept. And the Lord's going to shut them out, man. Because you're on the left hand of the Pacific, right, and the right hand of the North, right? And all of the seas and the countries and oceans where they reside. They're chiefly in the middle of a trade zone, man. America's land. It's Ezekiel chapter 29, right? It's like at 27 in verse 3. And say unto Tyrus, oh, that thou art situate at the entry of the sea, man. Man, they situate, meaning they're literally right where the beginning of the sea is, man. Let me get this quick. In fact, I'm gonna get this real fast. And that's exactly where America sits, man. America's right a Gulf of Mexico, right next to the Caribbean Sea, right off the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, where they do trades with all of these different nations on the north, in the north, right round about Central America. So they had to sit in the century of the T, which are a merchant of the people of many isles. Right, that's Revelation the 18th chapter. Right, let me see if I can pull this up real fast. How many nations does America do trade with? Right, the U.S. trade regulations, right, with more than 200 countries, territories, our regional associates, right, around the globe. 200 countries America does trade with. It says, which are a merchant of the people for many isles. Thus the Lord God, O Tyrus, thou hast said, I am of a perfect beauty. And that's what they say. What makes you beautiful as a nation, right? What makes it most glorious, right, as a nation, right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Revelation. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17. And I'm going to start at verse number 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and in scarlet color. So, I mean, perfect in beauty, scarlet color, decked and arrayed. This is the gloriousness of how everybody looks and treats America. And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, man. That's what makes her beautiful, right? Now, America's decked up, like I said, with everything. There's nothing that America doesn't have because it brings in trade of everything. That's why anything a nation may be lacking and or wanting, people come to America to flourish in and or to get. You have your biblical institutions, you have your scholarship, becoming a doctor, and all of your educational systems here, right? You have trade here, economics here. Everything you really have is in America, and it's perfect in its beauty because it has stolen a part of each ancient right empire that was before it, and used and over it hacked with sorcery. Since thy borders are in the midst of the sea, thy builders have perfected thy beauty. They have made all thy ships boards. I'm going to jump down to verse 27. Right? It says this. It says, thy riches and thy fares and thy merchandise, thy marines, meaning the men in the midst of the sea, and thy pilots, thy chalkers, and thy occupiers of thy merchant, and all thy men of war that are in thee, and all thy company which is in the midst of thee, shall fall into the midst of the sea in the day of thy ruin. What does this mean? Meaning all you men that come together with trade, that help the trade, are going to fall in the midst of the sea. Who's the king over trade right now and moving the elements? Right? Obviously, right? Satan through the hand of Donald Trump, man. And everybody's going to fall in the midst of the sea. So you think that these tariffs are just something small? Give it a couple of months and/or years if we're still here, God forbid, and you're going to see how it shifts the economy so much and how hard it's going to actually be, man. Your $20 an hour is going to be your modern day $7 an hour. Your $30 an hour is going to be your modern day $15 an hour, man. Get damn 37, $40, $45 an hour is going to be your modern day $25 an hour, man. And the rich is going to get richer while the poor continually to decrease. It says the scrubs shall shake at the sound, right, of the cry of thy pilots, right? This is nothing more but another revised chapter of Revelation, the 18th chapter, man. How the Lord is going to take down Babylon and how all of the nations in the midst are going to witness it. You can read about that in the book of Second Ezra 15 as well. Let me get this real fast. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 11. And thy merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. This is another major Bible prophecy that has to come to pass. It's trade and the economics has to go down in America. It's going to really be, I don't want to say necessarily the beginning, but a large portion of it going downhill. And I'm gonna come back to that real fast. I want to get that in Revelation. So like Isaiah 19. It's Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 5. And the waters shall fail from the sea. What does that mean, man? See, your water brings forth life. It helps things to grow. Meaning everything by the sea is going to get dried up. Your imports coming in, your imports coming out, right? And they're in the land. And the river shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn the rivers far away. And the brooks of defense. What are these brooks? They're your defense. That's how you eat. That's how you survive. That's how you do trade. Shall be emptied and dried up. And the reeds and flags shall wither. That's Bible prophecy. In every book, literally going into the downfall of America, you also have a trade downfall. You also have a downfall going into men not being able to eat, drink, survive, and a nation flourishing like they once did. It happened in ancient Egypt, happened to Tyre and Zidon, right? But Alexander, right, the so-called great took them down. You also is going into Isaiah the 19th chapter, Revelation the 18th chapter, right? Isaiah the 26th chapter. Said the paper reads by the brooks and the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither and be dried away, right? And be no more. Check that out, man. And the fishers also, right, shall mourn. Who are the fishers? The men that bring things out of the sea. That's not actual fishers, man. A modern day fisher would be somebody that's on the sea, doing trade, bringing back the things of the sea. The things of the sea are from other nations. China may be rich in this. India may be rich in this. Right? South America may be rich in this. Those are your modern day fishers that bring these things in. It says, and all they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament, and they shall spread nets upon the waters, right, shall languish. Going back to the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and verse, right, 12. The merchants of gold and silver, and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple, and of spices, 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 and of spi right? And silk and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all thy manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and flowers, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. So don't forget that America has brought slaves and the souls of men. They have captured the souls, right? That's why, when a woman deals with a man and or, commits fornication or has been a harlot, they take on that spirit of that man. And that's what America has done. He has laid in bed with all of these nations. They have a part of the ancient, you know, Roman mentality, have the part of the ancient Egyptian mentality. They have conquered nations as well as been in the bed with nations, but they take on the spirit of these nations, right? Because it's souls of men in this place, man. And the fruit, right, that thy soul lusteth after are departed from thee. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. So everything that was once tasteful and good for you, and the Lord said, look, it's departed from you. It's went far away. But I'm going to get this last precept, right? I'm going to get two more precepts to close out. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 20. This is the book of Job, right? Chapter 20. This whole thing is fire. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at 17. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. Talking about the kingdom. He shouldn't be able to receive the living waters, the honey and the wisdom and the knowledge of the Most High. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down according to its substance, shall he restitute be, he shall not rejoice in them, because he have oppressed and not forsaken the poor, right? He hath violently taken away an house which he buildeth not. Surely he have not felt quietness in his belly, he should not save Slakia of that which he desireth. There shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. And the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. It says every hand, right, of the wicked shall come upon him. This is the point. When he is about to fill his belly with all of the trade, all of the money, everything of the society, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. So this is a major part too. In the thickness and the height of his glory, the Lord's going to shoot him down, man. And the height of Nebuchadnezzar, he got taken down. And the height of Pharaoh, he got taken down, man. And the height of Cyrus, he got taken down. Whenever a nation reaches its peak, and when you look at America, they're on their downfall. They've reached their peak. So now there's no more time but for judgment. I believe a society and or a nation and an empire, it only lasts about 250 years, an average empire, man. Let me find that out. Look at that. Around 250 years, 220 to 250 years, man. Right? No empire really lasts longer than that. Right? The Shanghai dynasty in China, around 200 years. That's an average lifespan, right? Of, these nations and these empires, right? From the Ottoman Empire, the Shang dynasty, right? And it's going to be no different with the American Empire. They're not going to continue to flourish and or last long. The Lord said, when he is about to fill his belly, meaning continue to eat of the riches, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So in the midst of his height, the Lord is going to destroy him while he is continuously eating. Let me get the book of Revelation. It's the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 3 in verse, right? Number 2. Be watchful and strengthen, right? The things which remain that are ready to die. For I have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So continue to keep watch, man. Continue to do the work of the Most High. Continue to be fervent. Be on fire. Be an example. Make your body living sacrifice, man. Don't faint in your watches. That ciphers between a true watchman and an hireling for a season, man. You want to be somebody that cares for the sheep. You don't want to be a hireling. You're just awaiting your reward for a specific season, an appointed time. This truth isn't an appointed time, man. You don't labor for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, 30 years, and that's the end all be all, man. This is who you are, man. It's a lifestyle. This is something that you are become, man. You become a servant of the Lord. You become a watchman. You become a man of God, a woman of God. So continue to stand firm in your watches, have integrity, be on fire. Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashema Mashiach, Umalak Yahushua. Shalom.